Look at that. That is a Street Glide Special 2020. Catch inside. RevelatorAlf. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. Look at this bad boy. This is a 2020 Street Glide Special from Harley Davidson. Yeah, they've let me loose on it. They've said, come and test ride it. So I said, you know what? I think I will. All blacked out, lovely jubbly, 114 engine, dual front brakes, love it. Crash bar, standard, nice. Bags, top loaders, look at that, beautiful. Easy squeezy, big antenna, snip snip, don't need that. Big infotainment system, all good. Radio, GPS, everything. Analog dials, big old fairing on here. This is attached to the forks. So you either want a road glide, which the fairing is attached to the frame and not the forks, or you want the street glide, which is attached to the forks. So basically everything moves. It looks good, doesn't it? I've got to say, they've done a good job with the old black, apart from the white, of course, on this. Right, enough just looking at it. Let's go ride it, shall we? Right, a few specs on it. This is obviously the 114 engine. It's got the 1868cc. It's pulling 120.22 foot-pounds of torque, and it's 89 horsepower, 375 kilos, which is 826 pounds. Yeah, that's riding weight. Lean angle to the right is 32 degrees. Lean angle to the left is 31 degrees. 39 miles per gallon. Fuel tank is 4.99 gallons. Quite long. It's 2,425 millimeters. Seat height, it's not too bad actually, 690 millimeters. The rake is 26 degrees, trail is 173 millimeters, wheelbase there is 1625 millimeters, and base price for the UK is 22,895. Top price, depending on which model you go for and colour scheme, is £24,035. Right, okay, look, enough of that. This is all about getting on the bike, see how I feel, and also see how you guys feel about it. Right, so ignition on, infotainment on, dials go sweep, run switch on, touch screen. I've got my Virgin Anthems playing rock. Oh, turn it on and away we go. Now, right, something you need to know, it's got the floorboards on it. And you'd think that the steering is going to be really heavy with this whole fairing and all the electronics behind it. Actually, it isn't. Clutch is really smooth in this. Now, you've got to ignore these, the sound, because the sound here is coming from Vance & Hines slip-on exhaust. So it's a little bit throatier. Look at that, beautiful. It's nice and light on the steering, I've got to say. I thought this was going to be, you know, a bit of a wallowing pig and a really heavy, but it isn't. It's really light. I like it. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a few functional tests, like width. Yep, squeezes through, no problem. Yeah, flickable, not too bad. Oh yeah. It's light for a big bike, it's light. I tell you, floorboards take a little bit of getting used to, but it's fine. I've always against floorboards in many ways. I thought, what do I need that for? I don't need floorboards, but do you know what? Not too bad at all. Right, green light has changed. So this is where I think, well, you're going to have to think about whether you really want to go through traffic or not. For me, actually, do you know what? It's not bad at all. Just go through. And away you go. Right, so the next thing then, let's get this on the motorway. Let's get them some highway speeds, because there always has been a bit of criticism saying there's a bit of vibration from the fairing at highway speeds. Let's go check that out, shall we? it's a wide bike, so you're not going to be able to get through the tight spaces, that's for sure. This little button here, you can switch your channels and you can go volume up, volume down. This little button here, you can go to the home screen. This little button here, you can go back on the pages for your infotainment system. And away we go. Oodles of power on this 114, even at slow speeds. Do you know what? I came in with preconceptions about this bike, and I thought, you know what, this is going to be a big, heavy lump of a machine. But it isn't. It isn't really. You just have to get used to it, of course, the physical size. All right, let's see if I can get through here. Yeah, no, it's just a little bit on the big side. Beautiful. Right, let's see if we can get on this, turn the volume up. Okay, full face helmet. I can hear the radio. They did say these are stage 1 speakers. What they're saying is actually if you get the stage 2 speakers, you'll hear it even more. You'll hear it even more, a lot clearer. So I'm doing, what, 70 miles an hour right now? Yeah, you can hear it, it's very muffled. I've got a terrible helmet because I've got a lot of wind noise anyway, but you can hear it. The wing mirrors either side are not so great, I've got to say. They could just do with being a little bit wider. I know that will make the bike even wider, but just a little bit wider, I would say. Overall wind buffeting, yeah, look, it is over the helmet, I've got to say that. But you are still feeling it. You are feeling it on the top of the shoulders. I'm quite a tall guy, over 6 foot. So, you know, the shorter you are, the less you're going to feel it, of course. So the higher you are, the more you're going to feel it. If you stick your head up, you are definitely in the airflow. You crunch down a little bit, you're out of it. Look, so touchscreen here, go in the centre. Look, I've got my sat-navy type thing. I can go this back button here, and that goes back to the home button. I go to that, and then if I want to change radio stations, I go left and right on this button here, and if I want to turn the volume up or down, I just go up and down on that. Traction control, it's got RDRS here, and the UK standard, it's got all that gubbins. It's a lovely destination, you don't need any of that. It is beautiful. Right, this dial here, your Speedo, there's a little button on the top here which you can flick through all your different ranges, your mileage and all that kind of good stuff. RPM counter, voltmeter for the battery. If you've got loads of accessories, that's good to know actually. And obviously you've got your fuel gauge, which is really cool. It's nice that it's all up here. It's all up here. Little gear indicator here, what gear you got selected, that's always handy. As I say, I'm just doing 70 miles an hour. Yeah, you're not really getting buffeted by the wind, but you know, there is a little bit. It's smooth, but I'm not saying it's like gliding, you know, on a hoverboard, or you're on a bed of flowers, or whatever the term is. You know, you are still feeling the rumble of the road. This rumble from these Vans and Nines exhausts are really nice as well. If you got stock exhaust, you're going to have a lot quieter ride. Right, if you've got an open face helmet or a really crap full face helmet like I've got, you get a lot of wing noise, you're barely going to hear the music. That's at 70 miles an hour. If you went faster, you'd hardly hear it at all. That's the truth. So you're going to either have to upgrade your speakers, or you're really going to have to think about changing your helmet, or maybe having the sound come through your earphones and your helmet. Right, so off the motorway now, just getting on some, well, minor roads and some back roads. Yeah, you can't really hear that audio, I've got to say, at the higher speeds, so you're gonna have to upgrade those speakers. If you want full functionality of the infotainment system with your, you know, with your Bluetooth headset, or having to control your phone and everything like that, you need this WIM audio thing, connection thing. which allows you to speak to other riders and all sorts of good stuff like that. But you can pick up your phone, connect your phone up to it with CarPlay and Android or whatever, all that kind of good stuff as well. But to be able to talk through the audio system, you need to have a helmet communication device as well. The thing about these is that you have to buy the bike and then you'll gradually find out what works and what doesn't work, you know what I mean? But it's nice, it's nice off the line, nice 114 engine. I mean, it's not crazy powerful, it's a heavy bike, as I said, 860 odd pounds or whatever it is, 375 kilos. It's heavy, but you don't really notice it. I know it sounds odd, you know, and I'm coming from a Softail Sport Glide, which I absolutely love. And my question to the salesman is, would I like this more than my Softail? I'm not so sure. But it is a nice bike, no doubt. The one thing you will struggle with this is in traffic, there's no doubt, you know, filtering through, because you're not going to be able to get through those small gaps. But look, it's just purrs, it purrs along, really nice. Sat nav, all good there. You can control everything by the little buttons as I showed you already. If I go to the back button there, and I can go to the home button there just by pressing on the left here. And it's a nice clear screen as well. I mean, he did give it a little clean because it was a bit dusty beforehand, but you know, and it all works well. So from that point of view, fine, no problems. Look, I think if you're going to buy this bike, you're going to want to be doing a lot of longer mileage on it, I think. If this is, I mean, you can use it for a daily commute, but if you're going to use it just for a 2-3 mile ride, I really don't see the point of it. If you're going to go on longer journeys, you know, comfortable seat, the seat is really comfortable, forgot to mention that, fine. You can accept, you know, sitting in traffic a little bit more, you're going on a longer ride, you feel more comfortable, nice upright position, your pillion is going to be with you, they're going to be more comfortable as well. Obviously the whole raft of accessories that you can get for this bike is going to be out there as well, so you can, you know, just add to your heart's content as well. Look, I mean, you get into the bends and you do, it's got a lovely balance to it. You don't feel as if it's tucking in, or if it wants to overroll, or that the weight is too top heavy. No, it isn't. It is nicely balanced in the bend, so you roll in and out quite comfortably. This is always my criticism of Harleys in the past, how well they handled. And I've got to say, so far, at slower speeds, granted, it is handling quite well. Right, let's put the hammer down and let's see what we got. Hey, look, it works fine so far. 40 miles an hour here, in a bend, no problem. Right, getting onto the back roads now. Bit of higher speeds are allowed. Pickup is quite nice. It's not earth-shattering, it's not a sports bike, but you know, it was never going to be that. But it's nice, it's more than ample. So the handling here, that's what we've got to figure out, the handling. Almost took out the squirrel there. Hey, I'll tell you what, no, in the bends, there's no movement there. It actually rolls really nicely. Let's take this left-hander. I tell you what, yeah, look, I've got to say, this actually leans into the bends really well, and it's actually got greater lean angles than my Sport Glide. Would you believe that? It has. I mean, these floorboards really help. Your feet are on these floorboards, and it's really, really comfortable. Clutch engagement is really smooth as well on this. Maybe I'm just blessed with a nice one. Sometimes, you know, Harley clutches, clunky, can be, but this one, no, smooth as you like, really nice. If I had to buy this bike, I don't think I would change a thing. It's not often I would say that. I don't think I would change a thing. Even if it was stock, the stock exhaust, I've heard the stock exhaust, it's absolutely fine. I don't think I would change a thing. It's really nice. Put the hammer down. Momentarily. Do you know what? It's not. All I would say about the acceleration, it's not rapid, but it does pull there. It does pull you through. Sweeping bends, yeah, very nice. Okay, in the bends with a bit of bumpiness, it does bounce a bit. You do feel a little bit of porpoising, you know, a bit of whoop, whoop, wallowing. I think if I had my way, I would say to Harley Davidson, right, you need to look at the chassis. You need to look at the rear suspension setup, just to make it a little bit more firm and planted, you know, in those bends. But you know, I'm nitpicking here, I really am. You've got to understand, this is a much heavier bike than a Softail. So if you want a leisurely touring bike, the 114, and you could go for the CVO 117 if you wanted, is going to be more than enough. If you want a bike with a little bit more pip, a little bit pep, or whatever the word is, I have no idea why I use that word, but there you go. You know, if you want something a little bit more, then you're going to have to go for a smaller bike, a Softail with the same engine, or you know, an upstage that. Now, of course, we can all upstage and all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about the stock bike and how it feels. It does feel a little bit sluggish when you're trying to open it up. That's all I'm saying. But it is ample enough. This is not criticism. It's just saying it's ample enough for this kind of bike. And it's very smooth. Very smooth, lovely. Bit of grit on the road. There we go. Yeah, I mean, you put it into a bend, you put it, you know, around a corner, and it just rolls into it. Rolls in, rolls out. It's got dual brakes at the front, but I've got to say, I can't feel them really biting. You know, it's a progressive braking rather than something you think, oh yeah, this makes a whole world of difference. Again, the weight of the bike is, you know, a big factor here, but you know, yeah, nice. Yeah, look, I tell you what I say, it's a nice acceleration, not my number. But look, you don't want that really for this kind of bike, do you? You want something that's comfortable, tick. You want something that will go round a bend, you know, within reason, tick. It's going to be good for your pillion and a tour, tick tick. Good for long journeys, tick tick tick. It keeps the wind off you to a certain degree, or a lot of wind, a majority of the wind, tick. You know, what else do you want? The gauges are all in good view. That's a big criticism of my bike, of the Softail, of the Sport Glide. The gauges are right down here. It's a nice view up here, so you've got a nice view of what you're doing. You've got a good stance with the bike, you've got a good stance with the handlebars. You know, that's all. Controllability is on point. So yeah, there's lots of this bike that you think, wow, I've got to have one. And there's going to be lots of big. Look, that's why it's a pretty big seller, because people are looking at this thinking, yeah, this is a really good bike. I always thought that this bike for me would be the wrong bike. I've kind of disproved that. I know this bike would be the right bike for me. Hey, what's going on here then? Oh, it's a film set, this is. Oh, I wonder what they're filming here. Oh. My only thing with this bike is, it's got nothing to do with the bike actually, it's to do with my personal circumstances, about being able to squeeze it in and out of my garage in between parked cars where I have to work and all that kind of stuff. I think it'd just be too cumbersome for a daily ride, for you know, a jewelry ride, for you know, your weekend ride, let's say. You move everything out of the way, you easy access into your garage and out again, longer rides down to the seaside to have a, you know, an ice cream with your friends or whatever. Perfect, great bike. The sound system, forget about that. Unless you're at slow speeds, forget about it. GPS, yeah, that all works well. Settings, there's so many functionality in there, the settings. You go to that information button, you can change lots of settings as well. But look, in the bed, I mean, it's nice. This is a nice bike. But the suspension on it isn't as smooth as I thought it was going to be. Actually, this one is a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to be gliding on a, you know, on a carpet or something, you know, a little bit. I'm getting a lot of response back from the road here, a lot of feedback from the road, which is good on one hand, but you're kind of expecting a Tourer to be a little bit smoother. This is no smoother than my Sport Glide, no smoother. Right, this is a really tight sort of back road here, so let's just see what I come up against. Tipping, beautiful. Look, the brakes are sufficient for what it is. It goes into the bends really quite nicely. You know, as I can say, I'm trying to test this as much as I can. Now, we are in dry conditions as well, okay, so you know, you got to factor that. When you're in wet conditions, you know, you got a rain mode on here. Look, just put it on, put your traction control on, you know, and everything. You got a lot of weight there still, even though it's light riding. You know, you're gonna have to factor that in. Riding position is really nice. Seat, stock seat, really nice. Everything about this bike is really nice. You could pick faults in anything, couldn't you? You could pick faults in any bike, any car, whatever. I think the thing is to weigh up, if the positives outweigh the negatives and you can live with the negatives, you know, that's going to be a good bike for you. Might not necessarily be the bike for you, but it will be a good bike for you. And this is where I'm at with this bike. It's definitely a bike for me. Definitely. I like it. But unfortunately, those negatives that are not associated with a bike. It's more about how I live. That's you know, what is going to be the determining factor here. But if you don't have those constraints at home, or you're not going to be using it as your daily ride, then I would say go for it. Absolutely go for it. Now, if you're talking about financing the bike, well, I tell you what, there's going to be not much difference between financing this bike or financing a Softail. Not really. This is what, 22 grand, 23 grand? You know, it's going to be about 30, 40, 50 pounds more, dollars more a month, whatever. So if you can afford it, you can afford it. If you can't, obviously you can't stick to what you got. You are much more of a presence on the road. They can see you coming a lot more, you know, so you feel bigger, you feel you are bigger, physically bigger, you're more imposing, and the other vehicles on the road, they can definitely see you more, and it's almost like you command a bit more respect on the road. I know that's probably a load of old tosh to a lot of people, but that's the impression I'm getting from other road users already. They're trying to think, oh, that's a big bike, let's just give it a bit more room. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, this is a demo bike, so I'm not going to really, you know, hoon it into the bends and everything. I am riding it conservatively, but I can give you my, you know, my thoughts. The tyres are good, the standard tyres. You know, the suspension is adequate for what it is. Yeah, there is a little bit of wallowing, there is a little bit of porpoising on bumpy bends, I should say. Bumpy bends, definitely. But that's, you know, that can be tweaked with a bit of suspension changing, or, you know, alterating for your personal riding style as well, of course. There we go. Out my way. You see, look, you definitely got out my way. And it's one of those things, isn't it? You get this bike and you learn about it. You learn about, you know, everything about it, what it can do, what features it has, what you can add to it, all that kind of stuff. Right, out on the main road again now. I've got to say, look, I'm just over 6 foot tall. This bike, as it is right now, as it's configured right now, is, I would say, almost perfect riding style for me for comfort. Almost, it's almost there. Handlebars are a nice height for me. I mean, yeah, I don't think you need to come any higher than that, but that's it. The floorboards, I've got to say, they are a nice addition. They are nice, and I'm sure that's what affects the lean angle as well. You can really bank it over. And talking about the lean angle, I was to say that this again, you don't feel as if this bike wants to get away from you in the bend. It feels really planted. It feels as if it wants to roll in, roll out. Exactly the same feeling I had when I first rode the Sport Glide. It's good in the bends, and for me that's a big thing. If you're never into riding bends, you're only riding highways or motorways, whatever, you're not really going to care about that. But for me, I ride a lot of back roads, a lot of main roads. I need a bike that's quite flickable, quite light, but also, you know, that'll really handle, and it does handle. You're going to have a limit to what you can and cannot do, but this bike is great. So for my height, my dimensions, this bike is great. If you're a shorter rider, you may and you've got short legs, let's say, you may struggle with getting your feet on the ground. So this all comes down to sizing, doesn't it? But saying that, if you're a shorter rider, you're going to have less wind buffeting. Now, I was going to say, it's hardly noticeable, the wind buffeting, but it is there. The radio at higher speeds, stock, now you're going to have to change out those speakers, or you're going to have to have some kind of feed directly into your helmet audio. But that kind of defeats the purpose of having an infotainment system with speakers, doesn't it? You know. Okay, then, final thoughts as I head back to the dealership. Look, if you're after a tourer, you could do a lot worse than this, put it that way. It's a really nice bike. It's comfortable, it's got enough power. Could it have more power for the weight of the bike? Yes. It goes into a bend, it handles really nice. Look, if you're on a highway rider only, or open road rider, it's not really going to be noticeable. But as soon as you get into tight bends, the bike works. I was to say, the bike works. You're going to reach a limit with it, but the bike works. The lean angle is great, deceptively good, I should say. And you know, you think it's going to be a wallowing pig. It isn't. It's all right. The acceleration, as I said, is progressive on this. It's not dramatic. It's not like you're on a bike and you're holding on to the handlebars. No. It's very smooth, so you have to time your passing, your takeovers, but it's there. It is there. You just have to time it just right. So, as I was saying, if you're after a tourer, you could do a lot worse than this. If you're after a highway rider, no problem. In the bends, yeah, it's suitable. The suspension, possibly the rear, it needs to be worked on, but I think that's a design issue from Harley Davidson. I think they need to kind of really think about going away from the twin shock setup into a big monoshock setup, but that's just me. Change your chassis a little bit, or really upgrade these dual shocks at the back. Practicality, yeah, I think if you're not really concerned about tight spaces, I think this is going to be a great ride for you. It's light in the steering, which is good. I thought it was going to be a lot heavier, but it isn't. It isn't at all. So there we go. That's it. The Street Glide Special. I was comparing this to my Sport Glide. I've got to say, there's not a lot in it. There's not a lot in it in terms of rideability. Comfort-wise, this is better, but not. It's not night and day, but it is better. My 107, stock 107, has got a little bit more response than this 114 on this Tourer, would you believe? It has. You know, I hate to burst the bubble of some people, but it has. But it's a lighter bike, so, you know, you kind of expect it anyway. So my verdict, it's not a bike that immediately jumps out at me and says to me, you've got to buy it. Unlike my Sport Glide, when I rode it, and I did do my due diligence, and I rode the Softails and everything like that, but when I rode the Sport Glide, it jumped out at me and it said, buy me now. This does not say that. It almost whispers. It says, buy me now, buy me now. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference. It's a great bike, and it's going to be suitable for so many riders who do specific types of journeys. I'm not sure for me that it's the bike of my choice, and the way I'm configured at home, it's just going to be too cumbersome. the way it is. If I had a different setup, I think I'd be very tempted, I've got to say. Right now, not so sure. But there we go, that's my review of the Street Glide Special. Try to be as honest, try to give you a full range there, discuss anything, leave your comments, let me know what you think, and what I've said. Do you agree, disagree, all that kind of stuff. You know, what do you think about the suspension, about riding into the bends, all that kind of stuff, the power delivery, do you agree with that? Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, like and share, check out the website RevelatorAlf.com, and I will catch you again on another video, coming very soon. Well, very soon indeed. Ta-da!